Fire for them, fire for them. If you're looking for that 35 bag umbrella and all damn thing there, keep it locked with DISUNOMICS podcast.
Yo, what's good, people? DISUNOMICS Monday morning news. Let's get straight into it. I probably need to change my intro. That was a bit boring. Anyway, first things first, Sha'Carri Richardson. So many of us have seen this young, she's about 21 years old, I know her age, she's 21 years old, African-American, fantastic talent. She's a sprinter. She rose to prominence, I believe in 2019, where she won the NCAA, so that's the National College Athletic Association Championships, the national champs, in 2019, running a time of 10.75, which is a phenomenal time for a women's 100-meter athlete. She does the 100 and the 200. So she's coming out of LSU, so that's the Louisiana State University, and that's had so many famous athletes, especially as it pertains to American football, the likes of Joe Burrow, won a national championship quarterback for Cincinnati Bengals, Odell Beckham, which many of you may know, superstar wide receiver and also a bit of a fashion icon to a certain degree, and Tyrann Mathieu, safety for Kansas City Chiefs and Super Bowl champion. So the fact that she's at LSU shows what type of talent she is. Now, the reason why she's in the news is that recently she's kind of risen to fame after her 10.86 qualifying time at the US Olympic trials. And obviously she's a gorgeous woman. She has quite flamboyant stances of her nails and her hair. So obviously on social media, she started to blow up. And a lot of people have dubbed her the biggest talent in athletics, in track, since Usain Bolt, which is a very, very big thing. So yeah, so she qualified for the 2020 Olympics in Tokyo with a time of 10.86. However, unfortunately, scandal has ensued. So at those games, she tested positive for marijuana, which is unfortunate. And this has now led her to her serving a 1-month suspension. Now, the week before, for some sympathy for the young lady, a week before, her biological mother passed. So she said she used it to help coping with grief. And one of her quotes is, "Don't judge me because I'm human. I just happen to run a little faster." That's what she told NBC News today. So this is just sad news. One of the great talents, so she won't be able to run in a 100-meter race. The USDA, so that's the American Anti-Doping Agency, announced that she had accepted a suspension for what it was, and as a substance abuse rather than performance enhancing. So they didn't see this as performance enhancing. Marijuana can be used to mask other performance enhancing drugs, but in this instance, they did not believe that this was the case. They stated the rules are clear, but this is heartbreaking on many levels. So that's from the USDA Chief Executive Travis Tiger. If you look at the World Anti-Doping Agency, cannabis is prohibited and carries a ban for up to 4 years. And as I said, the context, obviously, it can mask certain drugs. However, although the ban is up to 4 years, it can be reduced to 3 months if athlete shows that it was taking it not related to sports, increase in sports performance. So now, regarding the Olympics, this 1-month ban means that her time of 10.86 has now been expunged, so she can't qualify. However, she can qualify potentially to run the women's 4x100 in August. So then again, that just depends on Team USA or whatever. And it seems that from what I've been reading on social media, she seems to be getting a lot of support. There was a lot of debate. Should we have sympathy for her? I have an element of sympathy purely on a human level. Like, your mum passed, I can't even imagine what that's like. But a lot of people saying the rules are the rules. Some people are angry at these rules, and there's a lot of talk, especially in the NFL, as it pertains to cannabis. Should this really be something that is used? There has to be an element of leniency for. Like, should we update how we're doing things? Because obviously, like in America, in 19 of the 50 odd states, it is legalized, and so many other places in the world, it has been decriminalized. But of course, in Japan, for example, it's not decriminalized, and the World Anti-Doping Agency doesn't decriminalize marijuana usage. So it's very unfortunate. Obviously, I'm sad because this is a great athlete, and that's something I'm looking to track. But I'm pretty sure, and hopeful that she'll bounce back, she'll learn from this, and then she will dominate probably at the World Championships next, and hopefully get her Olympic gold medals. And hopefully she's able to win the 4x1 and hopefully nick a gold medal away from the Jamaicans. No disrespect to my Jamaican people, but I just want her to succeed. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, moving on from sport, back to politics. You know that I like to give you people the gist with politics. So Labour by-election W. So a rare W for Labour because they seem to be taking L's, even though the Conservatives are taking L's. So they won a by-election in Boucher and Spen. And this was a very, very narrow election. So shout out Kim Leadbeater, who beats Conservative MP who got his name Mr. Stevenson, only by just over 300 votes. So Miss Leadbeater, she had 13,296 votes. Her nearest competitor, the Conservative Mr. Stevenson, had 12,973 votes. So only 323 votes separate between them. That is crazy. That's super duper tight. I'm not sure if anyone have heard of George Galloway, very famous man in politics. He's a Respect MP, and she's a Respect MP standing for the Workers' Party of Britain, and he came third with 8,000 votes. So this is a rare W for the Labour Party. And why this is of significance is because this seat was previously held by Kim's sister, Jo Cox, who remember who fatally was murdered in 2016. Now, to round off, I find this story quite interesting, and this is to do with Canada. So a prominent statue of Queen Victoria has been torn down by protesters in Canada as anger grows over the death of Indigenous children at residential schools. So this is the story. Protesters, they cheered as the statue at the legislature in Manitoba's capital, Winnipeg, was toppled on Thursday. The protest was largely peaceful. One person had to be hit with a stun gun by police, but they said the protest was largely peaceful. A smaller statue of Queen Elizabeth II was also upheld nearby. This comes on Canada Day, an annual celebration on July the 1st that marks the country's founding by British colonies in 1867. The recent discoveries on mark that Indigenous Canadian graves at residential schools have prompted calls for national celebrations to be called off. More than 150,000 Indigenous Canadian children were taken from their families and forced to attend these schools during the 19th and 20th centuries, with the aim of forcibly assimilating them into society. An estimated 6,000 children died attending these schools. Students were often housed poorly built, heated, and unsanitary facilities. So, of course, this is another one of the long list of crimes, unfortunately, of the British Empire. And obviously, Canadians, of course, naturally hearing this. And, you know, children's always a soft spot. They're like, nah, get these motherfucking statues out of here. The monarch of the UK, Canada, and other territories in 1837 until her death in 1900, Queen Victoria was on the throne during the founding of the Canadian Confederation. The British Crown negotiated treaties with Indigenous First Nations in Canada, and the government enacted its residential schools policy under her reign. So this is why you had to drag Shorty, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, this is just, I find it quite interesting, the debate with statues. I can't lie, in certain societies, I think when you have statues of people who represent certain things and they don't hold the values of current society, what's the point of having them? Like, what's the point? Like, no, rip them down. That's me personally. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of should we take down more statues, especially in the UK, of people like Winston Churchill and that? How do you feel about Sha'Carri Richardson? Do you feel she was harshly done by? And let me know what you think of Labour. And they're now on the rise. I forgot to say, Keir Starmer said, Labour's coming home. He's got no source. Jesus. But yeah, until next week, peace and blessings. Bow.